Hello, my friends. I hope you all are doing very well today. Today's video, I happen to have a few extra or a couple of runs for the new Chimera Armadas, and in talking with some people on my Twitch stream last night, which by the way, you all are totally invited to join us, have a lot of fun there, learn a lot from everyone, trying to grow a community where we're learning, helping each other grow and get better at this game. So trying to grow that community, and you are welcome to join. Come on and join us. It'll be a lot of fun. Anyways, in today's video, I want to jump in, talk about the Chimeras as a refresher, and I did some crew testing. So I had 3 runs that I could do this time around. So I did some crew testing, and I want to talk about it, share it with you. And as always, if you have any input of some testing that you have done, some crews that you have found, then I'd love to hear from you all as well. So let's get into it. Why? Because the players matter. All right, here we are in game, and before we go and look at some things here real quick, just a reminder that your contributions are totally appreciated. All my subscribers here on YouTube, on Twitch, those that follow on Twitch, so you know when I go live, truly appreciated. If you're new here or haven't done so, it's a huge help. Doesn't cost you a thing to just hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and hit that thumbs up, and then you can know when I'm going to post new content, or when new content is posted. You can see that. So hopefully it is helpful to you all. Okay, so let's hop in. Just a quick reminder that the Chimeras are up here, this green space up here, this green Chimera looking thing, whatever you want to call it, up here. So here's where you're doing the Armadas. Okay, so good to know that, so you can know where you can test some of those things. And I believe it is the 52 systems above that have the hazards, where you take damage for every, looks like 5 seconds that you're in the hazard system. So the goal is to go in, do your Armada, get out, so you limit the damage you're going to be taking with your ship. Okay, so keep that in mind as you are crewing and sending your ships that direction. Let me pull this up real quick. Huge shout out to Blue Mandalorian. Makes great content, really supports the community. He was able to pull this chart and send this to me. Looks like, give full credit to Jules, Quazel, Blue Mandalorian, and the Star Trek Fleet Command community. So looking at this, the loot that you get from beating the Armada, the survivor amount, and the win. Through the testing I've been able to do when talking with different players, it looks like you want to hit as high as you can, obviously, to get the most loot that you're going to get from running the Armadas. It doesn't look like there's a huge difference. Excuse me. It doesn't look like there's a big difference between the different level of Armadas, where punching up to the next one is going to get you a lot more loot, for example. It's not like there's a break point where, let's say, it goes from like 15,000 to 40,000 or whatever, So not a huge jump there. I would say, generally speaking, you want to hit the highest level that you can. And if you can't hit the next level up, and you're able to beat the current level that you're looking at quite easily, and we'll talk about some of the Armada abilities you need to watch out for, just as a reminder. But you may try a loot crew, Picard Data 5 of 11, for example. So just something to keep in mind as you are looking at the Armadas. Okay, let's hop into the battle log real quick. Want to look at the abilities of the Armada. To remind you, this is the last crew that I tested. I was able to fortunately unlock Tim Allen in the game. What's his name? Jason Nesmith. From our beloved Galaxy Quest, which I know you all love in Star Trek Fleet Command. Okay, we won't go to that pain point today. Let's focus, Grand Admiral Hunter, right? Okay, so Armada's abilities, ship ability Deadly Mistake, isolitic damage is increased by 100% each round. So it's going to do, you want to take it out quickly, it's going to do some damage. Think about isolitic defense to kind of mitigate some of that. There's a couple of different, some artifacts in the game, as well as some research for that in the Mirror Universe, I believe, as well as, what is it, the territory tree at the end. So anyways, look at some of the research if you're struggling with that portion of it. But here's something that's key to understand. The battles only last 10 rounds. So if you can't take this thing out in 10 rounds, you lose. Invasion commanders do not regenerate whole health between battles, so you can attack them multiple times. Generally speaking, I suggest you don't attack them multiple times because the directives are not easy to come by. Invasion commanders reward a chest for surviving the battle and for defeated them. Shouldn't it say and defeating them? Invasion commanders reward a chest for surviving the battle and for defeated them. Come on, Scopely, get like an intern to proofread some of your stuff. Am I reading that wrong? So someone tell me in the comments below. Armada specific buffs do not apply to invasion commanders. Okay, little thing that we just have to kind of ignore. Defeating them and for defeating them. Okay, so you want to beat them in 10 rounds. This round, I think all mine are 5. I'll double check the reports here in a second. But Jason Nesmith does trigger with his 30% ability. We've got Troy, Lorca, and then there is potential with Khan. Okay, so what I have heard, this was confirmed. Thanks again to Retro Fury for confirming this in my stream last night. But where it says that, let's see, Armada specific buffs do not apply to invasion commanders, that if you have officers that have Armada specific abilities, they will not work. Someone asked me, I can't remember if it was in my stream or in my Alliance chat, because they were saying, well, wouldn't you want to use Cisco? And I was like, no, not really. So if we look here, he's got all this this mitigation of total health when fighting armadas. So there's an armada keyword, so these should not work. And Benjamin Cisco increases critical hit chance against armadas by 12% every round. So the problem with Armada officers are that they will not work. So you kind of have to treat these hostiles, these armadas like hostiles. So if you have a hostile ability, then they should work on these armadas. So that's why we see 5 of 11 proccing in the reports. When I ran 5 of 11 with the loot I was able to get on the 56 armadas that I was fighting, I got to like about 2200 loot when I didn't have 5 of 11 for being the armada. I got somewhere to 3000, like 3800, 3900, and I'm sorry I don't have those reports because I left the ship auto grinding in in space. So I don't have those reports to show you, but I did notice, an increase. So that did work with that. So think about that when you're looking at your at taking down these armadas. When I think about loot crew, if you're easily beating these in just a couple of rounds, you might be able to go up to the next round if you're able to, if you can reach it. But you might be able to go up to the next armada and beat it with something like E-Picard, E-Data, 5 of 11, just to increase the loot that you're getting from the armadas. So, looking at the test results here, the popular one here has been, let me get rid of my camera. I apologize. Let's get rid of that as we look at these. Okay. So sometimes I don't remember to take off the camera. So, but looking at these, the popular one here is 5 of 11, Lorca Khan. 5 of 11, like I talked about just a minute ago, you do get an increase in your loot per armada that you're running when you beat them. Lorca is for the hull breach. If you do have a Max Torres, because B'Elanna Torres at tier 4 will proc hull breach 60% of the time. So you can take a gamble with a tier 4 if you want, but most likely you'll want a tier 5. So you have a 100% chance. And you can put her below deck, and then you can take Lorca off and maybe throw on, someone like Janeway, who does proc for the isolytic damage. So just an option. You can put someone else there. What else we have here? Okay, so Khan, Khan's kind of a gamble a little bit. Mine is max, but the rounds, like we've seen, they can only go 10 rounds. So if you go over 10 rounds, you lose, obviously, or you don't win the battle. And so you take a chance with Khan procking, but I have found him helpful, so you do take a chance with that. So feel free to play around with taking off Khan if you want to. I did have where I didn't have Khan, where I was close, and I think I did a loot crew last time around. I did like a what was it? I thought I could do it because I was beating these in 5 rounds, and I went with Epicard, E-Data, 511, and when I took Khan off, I don't know if it's because Khan was off or Lorca, unfortunately didn't save that report, but the result was that I lost. So I just keep Khan on there for now, like having him on the bridge to proc those crits, the critical damage or critical shots. We have Janeway. I put Janeway on there thinking, okay, maybe she will help with isolytic damage. Mine is tier 2. So anyways, proccing Janeway, seeing how well that would help. And then just put Nesmith on with his 30% ability there. So as we can see here, the estimate kills per hole, I don't really pay attention too much to that because this is a battle report, battle logs, and we're just hitting on Armada, so not too particular about paying attention to those. The damage done, let's have a look at that, looking at, okay, how much are we doing with maybe Janeway and Tim Allen in the game. Found that total damage was about the same. There's a little bit more where we have more damage from crits, so more damage done with Jason Nesmith. Where he did more, it looks like we got higher hull damage in these two. So that's probably because we have extra isolytic and Jason Nesmith's ability there. So damage taken, you're taking less with Janeway, it looks like. So, but when I look at these numbers here, and I'll pause, just try and pause at a couple of these so you can see them, I don't see a huge difference in the effectiveness of these crews I have here. So when I'm looking at these 3 particular crews, I like this one the most with 5 of 11 as captain, Lorca Khan. The only, like I said earlier, the only thing I think that you could do better, because the goal here is let's beat it and get as much loot as possible. Especially when I'm beating it, and you'll have to kind of look at your own situation, right? So I suggest you trying some crews, see which one works for you. I like the 511 because of the abilities that she has, but most specifically, I like having 5 of 11 because of the loot bonus. So every little bit of loot you can get from these armadas, you're going to want to do that. Okay, so play around with it. I talked through a couple of these things just so you can understand that you want hull breach from Lorca because you're doing extra damage. When you're doing criticals, you do a huge boost in damage from that, and so you want to have hull breach active to and that hopefully is not a new thing for a lot of players. That's been a standard, have hull breach when you're hitting bigger level targets, and Con for the criticals. So I like this one the most, but play with it. You might have to take a chance, and I know you want to finish the SMS and do well, but you got to find the crew that works best for you. So that's the logic behind it anyway. So my recommendation from the crew testing I've done so far is doing the 5 of 11 Lorca Con, and if you're able to beat them in just a couple of rounds, then it's okay to give it a try. You might be able to actually move on up to using a loot crew. So my 511 is max, so I get 100% increase to the loot. That may or may not be the same with you, but you could put 5 of 11 or take off 5 of 11 and try, if you don't have a maxed one. Let's say yours is only getting you 60%, so maybe you put on E-Picard, E-Data Lorca, so you still get the hull breach, or Khan, if you have a max below Torres, you can put her below Dex to apply the hull breach. You know, but just trying to maximize the percentage you get from the loot bonus. You can get as much loot from the armadas as possible, and taking that and going up against the next level armada. If you're doing 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds, I definitely would not put a loot crew on there besides this 5 of 11. Like, I wouldn't go with E-Picard E-Data unless you're able to beat the armadas pretty easily before trying to go up to the next level. So that's the goal. Get as much loot as you can so that you can come in here to the event store and you can go and you can turn in. Now, I've been not doing this light one, even though I can pull it right now. I'm hoping and saving so I can do this 30 for the 30,000 for the chance at some DeMarco shards and other goodies in here. So I feel like there's a better value in there. You just have to be patient for it. So anyways, Commanders, I hope that information is helpful. I hope it kind of gives you some information there. And like I said, if you have some input and you have some crews that you have tested, then please let me know. Once again, as I understand it, it's the hostile crews that we're looking for. Treat it as a hostile. You know, so crews with hostile ability are going to be the crews you want to focus on. If they say Armada, it most likely is not going to work on these Chimeras. So anyways, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next time.